Okay, today we are just going to briefly go over the midpoint and distance formula and some of the problems, and especially the problems where you have to find the endpoint when you're given the opposite endpoint and the midpoint. Alright, so we're going to find the coordinates of the midpoint of each segment. This time we have midpoint, we have endpoint T, it's going crazy, y'all, sorry. Alright, we have endpoint T, and we have endpoint U. T is 6, negative 1, and U is 1, negative 4. They want you to find the midpoint. Now we all know that we label it and it will make it so much easier for you. If you label your first endpoint as x1, y1 every time. Your second endpoint is x2, y2. And your midpoint is always x, y. Always. So if you look, what are we looking for? X and y. This is what we're looking for. So when you plug it into the midpoint formula, which is to find the x, we use x equals x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And to find the y, you're going to use y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So now we just substitute. We don't know what x is, and so that is what we are finding. We do know that x1 is 6. We know that x2, if you look at my arrow, is 1, and then divided by 2. That is the formula, guys. 6 plus 1 is 7 over 2. So that is your x value. All right. Next, we're going to find our y coordinate. Y, we don't know, so it's y. Y1, if you look over here, it's negative 1 plus y2 is negative 4. Y equals negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5 over 2. So my coordinates for x is 7 over 2, or of course it's 3.5. And y is negative 5 over 2. So if I plotted 7 over 2, 3.5, and negative 2.5, that would be the midpoint. Hopefully you guys understand how to find the midpoint. Alright, next we're going to find the midpoint. The midpoint with endpoints V. Ooh, this is a good one. And W. Here's V, there's W. They want you to find the midpoint. Let's say midpoint M. Okay, V is negative 2, negative 6. And W is x plus 2, y plus 3. Very good example. You do the same thing. Let's label it. x1, y1, x2, y2, and midpoint is always x, y. If you notice, that is blank because we don't know those. That is what we're trying to find. So when we plug it into the formula, x equals x1 plus x2, all you are doing is taking what you have, plugging that in to solve what you don't have. So here we don't have x. There's nothing there. So it's just x equals x1 is negative 2 plus x2 is x plus 2. Nothing changes. You can only substitute where it's supposed to be. Okay, so now let's combine like terms. Negative 2 plus 2 is actually 0. Here, I'm going to erase that. You have negative 2 plus x plus 2. We know that negative 2 plus 2 is 0, so you just have x over 2. That is it. I can't do anything else. else. X equals x over 2. So now let's find our y. Y equals y1 plus y2 over 2. I substitute, I don't know y, so that is going to stay y. Y1 is negative 6. Y2 is y plus 3. I combine like terms. I'm going to come over here and combine like terms. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3 plus y over 2. And that is my answer. Y equals y minus 3 over 2. So, x over 2, y minus 3 over 2. So yes, it looks a little odd, but that is correct. That would be your answer. All right, next, y is the midpoint of segment XZ. If you truly know how to illustrate this line, it will make your life so much easier, because if you know that if they tell me y is the midpoint of XZ, here's x, here's z, and y is that midpoint, okay? X has coordinates 2, 4. Y has coordinates negative 1, 1. They want me to find the coordinates of z. I don't know those. So if we label, like I tell you guys to label, your first endpoint is x1, y1, your second endpoint is x2, y2, and your midpoint is xy. Always, always, it will be that way. Okay, so let's plug it into the formula. X equals x1 plus x2 divided by 2. This time I have an x. I have an x. See? X is negative 1. So you plug that in. Negative 1 equals, I have an x1. x1 is 2. I don't have an x2. So that is what I'm solving for. All right? Divided by 2. I'm sorry, y'all. That is, I don't have an x2, and that is what I'm solving for, the x2. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 because we are going to get rid of that fraction. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 equals 2 plus x. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and I have negative 4. And I'm going to use the symmetric property to rewrite that. X equals negative 4. So there it is. Now do the same thing with my y. Y equals y sub 1 plus y sub 2 over 2. I substitute my y right here, is 1. My y1 is 4. y2, I don't know. So that is what I'm solving for. You see, there's nothing there. That is what we're solving for. Divided by 2. I multiply both sides by 2. And I get 2 equals 4 plus y. I subtract 4 from both sides. Y equals negative 2. So the coordinates of z would be negative 4, negative 2. Okay, guys, that is the end of that lesson. Hopefully you guys understood that. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, or I'll see you in the morning.